How is everybody doing today? My name is Master Zero, and welcome back to another reaction video. This time we're reacting to Misery Was by exurb1a. Alright, so I know it's been a hot minute since I did any sort of reaction video on this channel because my daughter was sick, and then I was sick, and then I got hacked. So that was a very weird, what was it, like 2 weeks? A week? 2 weeks? I completely lost track. All these days just run together now. But yeah, I'm super excited to go back to exurb1a, and the reason why I chose this one for my starting video for my return is because a lot of you guys were telling me to react to Misery Was, and I don't know why. In all honesty, I just kept pushing it back over and over and over again. But this is obviously the best time ever to react to this, so without any further ado, here is Misery Was by exurb1a.
Anxious, dissatisfied,
No.
tired of waking up in that hotbed of mindless drudgery and tedium you've affectionately come to refer to as your life?
Maybe.
Convinced that everyone else has their ducks in a row while you lurch from disaster to disaster like some rickety tandem Victorian velocipede?
Okay.
Caught in a perpetual cycle of feeling good, feeling medium, then returning to feeling like crap again, waiting for the day when you'll actually find yourself in a good mood for more than 5 minutes? Well, there is quite a good reason for some of that, and it begins, as we all did, with biology.
Oh.
Nature uses two methods of making babies on our planet: boink and no boink. No boink, or asexual reproduction, is generally used by bacteria, plants, and fungi.
I get it.
Involves an organism copying its genetic material for the next generation. Boink, or sexual reproduction, usually involves a male and a female doing the nasty and combining their DNA 50-50 to produce offspring. And that's the one we'll focus on here. Species change over time due to two main factors: selection and mutation. Selection means that organisms better suited to their environment have more chance of surviving and so reproducing. They will also often choose mating partners with what they consider attractive qualities or phenotypes. For example, often deer like big antlers, peahens like colourful plumage. The male bowerbird attempts to attract ladies in the form of a bachelor pad called a bower, which takes sometimes months to decorate. Stupid.
You go.
Birds. Humans would never make such silly displays for mating purposes, would we? The second trick is mutation.
Jumping straight into it.
Sometimes there are glitches in the DNA of offspring, and this could be due to copying errors or even cosmic rays. In humans, it can mean anything
like
from
Fantastic
red hair to genetic diseases. Sometimes these mutations will then be passed
red hair
down
is
to the next
technically a
generation of
mutation.
offspring, and if they're beneficial for survival, will be sexually selected and even become a characteristic feature of the species. Through circumstances we still don't understand, humans have developed relatively large brains and outsmarted, nommed, or avoided every other species on the planet. Good old survival of the shittest. And while we pride ourselves on being fantastically clever, very little has actually changed in terms of hardware between prehistoric humans and modern humans, because evolution takes ages, as we know. Now, modern humans
it's not like
are
Pokemon.
sneaky, of course. We've taken the old evolutionary urges and drives and found ways to still enjoy them. Aggressive combat into competitive martial arts, for example, or a constant obsession with reproduction turned into an act you can do thousands of times across your lifespan and never actually make offspring. But evolution is not a smart or conscious process. Some things are not well designed. A narrow pelvis, for example, making childbirth a thoroughly enjoyable experience for women everywhere. Or standing up, which in return for a better line of sight and an ability to grab stuff, also kindly gave us sciatica and hemorrhoids in return. However, we also inherited the mental traits evolution kindly gave to our ancestors, including creativity, curiosity, speech, a low anxiety threshold, a bit of a tendency for pessimism, and a total inability to keep right on the London Underground escalators. The signs are fucking everywhere! We are a contradictory mix of animal and mad God. But we may be, this century, on the threshold of gaining technologies to alter our evolutionary blueprint, courtesy of genetic engineering, going into our genome and ripping up the floorboards. So what shall we do? Then? Make ourselves harder, better, faster, stronger, eyes on elbows, an ability to actually piss in a straight line first thing in the morning. All very interesting, but there is one particular evolutionary bad boy we might rewire that's so fundamental to the human condition, we barely even notice it's there.
Let me hear it.
Its name is misery. We are not designed.
I don't know why I was surprised. That's literally the title.
Optimism. Natural selection had very little interest in our mental welfare. Survival was key. As a result, it seems most of us, regardless of geography or social standing, have a hedonic set point. That is, something good might happen and you'll feel good for a while, something bad might happen and you'll feel bad for a while, but eventually you'll probably return to your baseline, which appears to be set out of your control, partly genetically. For some individuals, this set point is rather high. For the rest of us, though, Yeah, not so much. And that's
Sorry?
ignoring all the other pitfalls of Brain 1.0, including age-related dementia, self-loathing, a tendency towards addiction, a tendency towards addiction,
Sorry.
boredom thresholds, and everything else we didn't ask for, genetically speaking. These nasties have haunted us for millennia, and they seem to form part of what we've lovingly come to know as the human condition, which for many of us is just shorthand for stuff we can't change and we're shit and it's natural and have a cup of tea and get on with it.
Okay.
But if we crack the ability to send these evolutionary dishes back to the kitchen
I do like
to
tea,
engineer ourselves happier or more content, shall we fucking give it a whirl or not? After all, we've got such a great track record with limiting the few godlike powers we already have.
Internet Explorer.
If we do gain mastery over our own genetics, how far should we go with this one? And how the hell will we know when to stop?
Excuse me.
Now, luckily, genetic engineering is really simple and there are no risks, and genetic engineering is really simple. You see, there's a single gene for everything. A cleverness gene, a tallness gene, a really good looking gene, and they can just be turned on and off without affecting anything else, and there being no bad consequences. And genetic engineering is really simple.
I don't know if he's being sarcastic or not.
Alterations to the human genome that only become apparent generations
I feel like he's
later.
being
There's no risk
sarcastic.
of nasty folks creating engineered drug-resistant pandemics that are virtually impossible to eradicate. There's certainly no risk of a group of us getting hold of the technology and creating an entirely separate genus of humans we can't possibly compete with in any aspect whatsoever. Genetic engineering is unbelievably complicated, and it's not hard to see why people are extremely cautious. We are currently children who have just about learned the genetic alphabet, but we can't read yet. So what can the new genetic technology
That's a very, very good way to put it.
Well, in each of our cells is DNA. DNA is packed within chromosomes. Chromosomes are extremely long strings of DNA composed of 4 bases, A, T, C, and G. Lengths of these are called genes, and proteins are built inside your body as a result of genes. If you like, genes are genetic verbs telling proteins what to do. We've been genetic engineers for centuries now, breeding species for the sake of characteristics we want in doggies, for example. Small ones, big ones, the bestest ones. Fucking love Springer Spaniels. But even that goes wrong sometimes. Many species of doggies are adorable, but possess nasty inherited traits like hip dysplasia and epilepsy, thanks to us. And this is just simple genetic engineering we haven't managed to get right yet. So far we've been using hammer methods, but now we may be holding a scalpel method called CRISPR, and it works, roughly, briefly, like so. Some bacteria can store an intruder's DNA in their own DNA in a genetic library called CRISPR, or clustered regularly interspaced short palindromic repeats, and using that as a template, using an enzyme called Cas9, it can kick ass if the intruder comes around again. Researchers have hijacked this trick and have begun to use it to snip out targeted sections of DNA in other organisms.
Reminds me of the first Spider-Man movie,
of
when it shows its
caused
DNA.
by a mistake of just one letter, not too much alteration might be needed to fix all sorts of nasties latent in human DNA. This isn't a question of if we start radically altering human biology, it's when, because even if most of us condemn the technology, it's not as if other researchers won't pursue it. They've started already. Obviously, hopefully, we'll begin with eliminating genetic disorders, but surely there will come a point, perhaps this century, when we get a little bit more experimental. And the question is, what happens then? Well, we might be children at the moment, but we know enough to notice that certain genes,
humanity changes
accompany specific
unrecognizably.
traits. DEC2, for example, is a genetic mutation allowing some of the humans who have it to survive on around 6 hours sleep a night. But genetics is rarely one gene equals one trait. There isn't one intelligence gene, and there probably isn't going to be a single depression or makes hummus delicious gene either. What we know from twin studies, though, is that somehow very specific traits can be inherited. There may not be a single good at violin gene, but there might be a bunch of genes that go into being good at the violin that one might inherit from their parents, like decent hand-eye coordination and pitch sensitivity. But in any case, genetics is not a switchboard. Happy on, sad off, bada bing, let's go for it.
Bada bing.
It is an interconnected tapestry in which some traits are caused by loads of genes, potentially thousands, and small alterations could have horrific consequences. There's nothing prudish about being cautious when it comes to a cheeky bit of the old playing God. Let's plant a flag there for a moment, because if we do one day learn to speak fluent genetics, alongside changing ourselves physically and potentially shepherding in the fucking apocalypse, we could scout out the roots of the more unpleasant aspects of the human condition, of low mood, of self-hate, of depression, anxiety, of the hedonic curse, of the genetic foundations of misery itself. And
all the
if,
fun
for
stuff.
some reason this all goes well, which there's no reason to suggest it has to, then you and I might be living in the last century in which anyone was ever involuntarily suffering, mentally speaking. Mental well-being is,
I was
I
gonna
would
say
argue, the most important
existential
factor in being
engineering.
alive, because it's the first thing that makes being alive worth being alive. Like, if you weren't conscious, nothing else would matter. And even if you lived in a solid gold mansion and slept on a bed made of Fabergé
I
eggs
don't
and brushed your
like
teeth with
gold.
dollar bills, if you're miserable, you're still miserable.
Yeah.
Gucci gang, Gucci gang. If there's a possibility
gang,
of one
Gucci
day
gang.
altering the human condition, perhaps the goal should be to preserve our humanity, but attempt to overthrow our evolutionary curses. For example, using these new technologies to raise an individual's baseline happiness default without compromising the individual's personality, much like the difference between you with a hangover
wanted him to
and
fall.
you after a workout. And, oh, is that Aldous Huxley at the door with some reasonable criticisms?
I don't know
Then
you,
can sod
hi.
off, thank you. This is wild speculation. Then
Oh,
again,
okay.
some pain makes sense. If one is sat around eating crisps and gaming all day, it might be entirely appropriate to have that nagging feeling that time is being wasted, a form of deep evolutionary
Very
signaling
true.
to go out and actually engage with the human tribe. Or
It's
if
like
you've lost
we
someone
experience
close to you,
pain for
you
a
know that
reason.
grieving is horrible, but it gives you time to try and make sense of who you've lost, and in the end, you can hopefully come to terms with it in a psychologically healthy way. There
Very
are plenty
true.
of sensible warning messages written into the human psyche, but others are overcompensations or just bad genetic luck. What the hell is the beneficial aspect of lifelong depression, for example? Oh, it's time for a disclaimer. There's a trend
Disclaimer?
in media that I and perhaps you find a bit irritating, which is when someone will be pretending
What is
to be
happening?
objective, but really just trying to beat some kind of pet theory of theirs into your head, labeling it philosophy or common sense or something, and using fancy big words. What comes next is purely my and a few other people's crackpot theory and speculation, and that's it. And real researchers with actual qualifications in the field of genetics who don't have enough time to make YouTube videos
This
because
is
they're actually
happy
busy
music?
doing something beneficial for humanity are rightly careful about speculation because the real world is really complicated, and they're frankly probably rightly fed up with champagne futurist types like myself making wild speculations about the future while facing no
I love your
consequences for being
speculations,
wrong.
buddy.
There's no reason to think genetic engineering will be chocolate and cat cuddles. It could go badly in a million ways for a million
Yes.
reasons, and if you're using this channel for educational purposes in the first
No,
place,
do
you
not
have to
do
be totally
that.
bonkers because it's just me, the cat, some cuddles with the cat,
Oh.
shit I like yelling into a microphone about,
Yes.
no qualifications whatsoever in genetics.
That's what I love
and a
about
big
your
old box
channel.
of fucking tofifi. Purely
Oh.
speculation ahead.
Yes.
White? White.
Cool.
That being said, though, in the event that we do develop competency with these new genetic tools, the future of
It's
biology is going to be stranger than
beautiful.
we're even capable of imagining. If genetic engineering becomes accessible to citizens, to us, what the hell happens then? Perhaps there'll come a whole new generation of artists who use technology as a brush and the human mind as their canvas.
We're already
in which entirely
sort of
novel degrees of
experiencing
bliss
that.
and well-being will be possible, and of course, new degrees of suffering and horror. We might isolate the molecular structure of bliss and proliferate it. We might isolate the molecular structure of misery and kill it. We may
Ooh.
become capable of experiencing emotions we
I
don't
don't know
even
if
have
you
words
should
for.
kill misery,
Degrees
though.
of euphoria, light years
kinda
beyond
like
anything
yin-yang.
drugs can provide today. We know from psychedelics and sleep
Ooh.
that the human mind is capable of entering alien dreamtime spaces, spaces
Very
unconstrained
true.
by our usual evolutionary
Had a
baseline
trip in my day.
architecture. Tomorrow's genetic explorers may go in search of these spaces, rewiring the perceptual and reward centers of their brains.
Doctor
If
Strange?
that happens, it will seem bizarre to them that for the whole of our history, we occupied only the ground floor of human
Inception, I
experience,
guess.
and except for the occasional hallucinogenic dabbling, never took the elevator up or down to those other strange floors, to boundless optimism, to entire lifetimes free of self-loathing or anxiety, ignorant of the molecular and genetic foundations of misery, much in the fashion that disease was once thought caused by bad smells. Back when we lived in an era
That
in
is
which
true.
we had more control over the atom than we had over our own internal circuitry, that somehow we survived the psychochemical dark ages. Will we lose ourselves to radical transformation? Will we venture too far into the experimental forest?
The world may
A
never
world in which
know.
we fracture into so many variations of humanity we can no longer communicate with each other. A world in which one can make a living scouting out these new, strange humans, much as an anthropologist seeks out new cultures today. We have no idea. We are a limited species who may be about to gain unlimited power. And what happens then? What becomes of the human condition when the genetic shackles have been taken off? There will be
Your
plenty
guess is
of
as
moral
good as mine,
problems
man.
of technology for our children's children to face, but one of them is bound to be the issue of human modification, and by extension, modification of the human condition. And we currently have no compass to show us the way as we set out on this new and very possibly perilous
It's
expedition
just everybody
into
spitballing.
our own source code. As John says in Brave New World, but I don't want comfort, I want God, I want poetry, I want real danger, I want freedom, I want goodness, I want sin. And why should we edit out the strange
Got
edges of the
goosebumps when he
human
said that
condition?
quote.
We are a uniquely batshit species, and that is
Yeah.
lovely. But there is a difference between eccentricity and suffering at the hands of a mental legacy we inherited from nature. We still bear the evolutionary scars of our rise through the ranks of the animals, of our helpless infancy in the ocean, and then of our traumatic childhood on the savanna plains of Africa. And as a result of those millions of years of ruthless evolutionary pressure, we have matured into a very peculiar mix of aggression and diplomacy, willful ignorance and curiosity, chaos and smarts. We have enough problems today as it is. Just considering disease and mortality, gastroenteritis alone kills about 1.8 million kids a year.
Dang.
And that's to say nothing of cancer, malaria, and tuberculosis. But slowly,
This video was a
thanks
year
to the
old, so
conscientious
Corona,
among
you could
us,
add that to
they
the
are
list.
on the run, and it is conceivable that one day humans will live on a planet free of disease and free of premature death at
That
the
would be
hands
very
of
nice,
nature.
though.
And as
Just a
we
world
relegate
without
these demons
disease.
to history, we will surely pause to cast an eye on those involuntary mental maladies as well. The spectres of despair, of depression, of anxiety, and wonder if we might banish those too. Was must be the most lovely word in the English language. It tells you everything you need to know about our ingenuity and compassion as a species. If you look up smallpox today, often the first two words of the definition will read smallpox was. We collectively gave it a fucking roundhouse kick and yelled, "Stay down!"
Yeah!
And it stayed down. If everything goes well as we mature as a species, the word was will propagate steadily
Like
throughout
polio,
our
stuff like that.
encyclopedias. And perhaps centuries from today, some future child will stumble on some future incarnation of Wikipedia and come upon obscure and forgotten diseases and afflictions of the human being, couched again and again, relentlessly, in the wonderful past tense. Cancer was a group of diseases involving abnormal cell growth with the potential to invade or
I
spread
just
to
got
other parts of the
goosebumps.
body. These contrasted with
This is the part of the video where it gets to me, isn't it?
Mosquito-borne infectious disease affecting humans and other animals, caused by single-celled microorganisms. Belonging Alzheimer's disease was a chronic neurodegenerative disease that usually started slowly and gradually worsened. It was a highly contagious infectious disease caused by
God,
the
can you
Measles
imagine, though,
disease. Was an inherited
a world
disorder that
without
resulted from
anything,
death.
any
Tuberculosis
disease?
was an infectious disease usually caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis.
It's the music, I think. The music gets to me, along with what he's saying.
Misery was an involuntary state of mental distress common to humans.
That's
of
why
all
it's called
eras and
Misery Was.
circumstances. Its eradication marked the beginning of the banishment of the existential horrors from the human condition.
Bravo. Bravo, good sir.
What up? Thanks for sitting through my bullshit
What up?
this month. So last year,
Anytime,
I put out
man.
an ebook called The
I
Fifth
love sitting
Science.
through your
It's not for me
bullshit.
to say if it was a good book, but it was the one that I most enjoyed writing, and I'm very excited to say it's now available as a paperback with a new cover and a new introduction. If you are
Honestly.
interested, there is a link below. It's a load of short stories about waking the universe up, and more than that, I can't say. I just really hope you like it. As a little celebration, with some help, I have hidden copies of the book in the UK, Germany, and Bulgaria. If you
Wait,
can find
really?
them, they're yours. Links in the
you just
description for
find
how
them?
to do that. I've disabled comments on the clue videos so you can't help
Oh.
each other. Little scamps. Good luck. Thank you to everyone who's
Awesome.
bothered with the book already. I read
Like I
all
said,
of
the
your
video's a
emails
year
and they
old,
are
so
much
it's probably
appreciated. And thank you
over.
to those of you on Patreon, obviously, because this book definitely wouldn't exist without you. If you want to try a story from the book first, there is a link below to me reading one, and if not, fair enough, it might be shit. You don't know. I hope you're doing well in any case, and all
You
the
don't
very,
know until
very
you
best
try.
wishes from myself and the feline. Well,
I love the kitty
not from
cat.
her, she's a fucking sociopath, but from me.
Maybe I don't like the
Bye.
kitty cat. Bye! I say that too. Alright, so as I do every single video of his, I really enjoyed it with a passion. I loved it so much. But I love that, like, that instant in the video when I know why the title is named what it is. Like, right when he said misery, and I was like, that's the title, Misery Was. That it's really interesting. Like, it gives me goosebumps and it makes me feel good and like it's pleasant and I just really like it. But yeah, on to the subject. Like, I don't necessarily agree with everything that he said. Like, yeah, he was just speculating, and yeah, he was like being sarcastic a lot of the time and stuff, which is why I enjoy the videos. But the main thing was like, I don't think we should 100% get rid of misery or like bad traits and stuff, like diseases and stuff. Yeah, we should 100% get rid of that, like cancer and all of that. I think we should 100% try to do our best to get rid of every type of disease known to mankind. But especially nowadays. But like misery and not really depression, but just sadness, I think we need as human beings, because if we don't feel pain of any kind, then we don't really learn, if that makes any sense. But like you said in the video, I didn't go to school for any of this philosophical stuff or nothing like that. It's just me speculating and my beliefs, my opinions just on the matter and stuff like that. But yeah, this was a very, very interesting video, and I think it's been quite a long video so far, so I'm gonna wrap it up here. So thank you everybody so much for watching. I don't remember my outro. So thank you everybody so much for watching. If you like this video, feel free to leave a like down below, because it makes me feel all warm and fuzzy on the inside. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos like this one. So with that said, I have been Master Zero. Y'all guys have been fantastic, and I'll see y'all in the next episode. Later days.